Hi, I'm Dave Hilowitz. So first off, let me say this video is sponsored by DistroKid. You'll see why in a second. So I'm about to release a new track, which is something that I do every 3 or 4 weeks. And it occurs to me that I have a very specific routine in place, a script that I follow every single time I release a track. So I figured I would bring you all along for the ride and share what it is that I do every time I release music. So let me bring up my script. Here's what the script looks like. It's pretty basic. It's just a text file, and it has a list of steps that I have to take every single time I release a piece of music. So the first step, obviously, is to name the track. Pretty important. If a track doesn't have a name, you can't list it anywhere. We'll go over how I do naming in a second, but for the purposes of this video, I'm releasing a track called Reverse Projection. I have already got a name. Step number 2, make cover art. So here is the cover art I've come up with. Okay, so the first one, name it, check. Make cover art, check. And then the third step is to make a decision as to whether or not I want to distribute it. In this case, I do. This is where DistroKid comes in. DistroKid is basically the provider that I've been using to upload music to iTunes, Spotify. It's actually a whole range of services, many of which I've never heard of. The reason I use DistroKid is because you don't have to pay per release. And for people like me who are trying to be as prolific as possible, it's perfect. Basically, I pay yearly, and no matter how many songs I release, it's the same rate. The other reason I really like it is that I get to keep 100% of my royalties. So that's why I use it. So moving down here, I'm going to go through the process. Artist name is already filled in, Dave Hilowitz. Is it previous released? Artist already in Apple Music? Yep. Artist already in Spotify. No pre-order. Record label, West Cortez. That is an actual label with a website that I set up a long time ago. And basically anything that I release under that name. Next, album cover. As you can see here, they recommend 3000 by 3000. Basically shoot for the highest possible resolution you could get. A note about cover art for streaming services. This having a brand mark in the top left-hand corner where you've got the name of the artist and the name of the song, it's pretty important. The streaming services will sometimes reject images that look like they're just stock photos or public domain images if they don't feel like they've been customized in any way and turned into an actual piece of art. So I always include just my name and the name of the track in the top left-hand corner. And it's pretty much always in the same position because I'm trying to maintain a consistency to my brand. And I'm just gonna take the JPEG and drag it here. I'm gonna put classical, and you get this warning about how iTunes, Apple Music won't accept it. That's, it's unfortunate. I'm gonna try to put electronic as a secondary genre in the hopes that that will allow me to kind of sail through on Apple Music. Going down here, we said that track is called Reverse Projection. Now here, DistroKid will allow you to upload an MP3. I wouldn't recommend it. I feel like you should always upload uncompressed audio when you're distributing a new track. Here, gonna go here, and you see how there's one of these tracks that has a little dot next to it over here on the right-hand side. I have a tag called Final Draft, and whenever I actually finish something and it's really ready for release, I put that tag on it in the OS, and that's how I know amidst all of these files which is the actual file to choose. Okay, hit open. Here, fill in the actual composer, David Hilowitz. I wrote this song. It's always nice when the songwriter split is so clean. Songwriter real name. Yep. Explicit lyrics. Song is instrumental. Okay, and here there are a bunch of features. Here I'm going to add this so that if somebody wants to use my music in their Instagram story, they can. Store Maximizer is a feature where if DistroKid adds other stores in the future, like, I don't know, there's some new streaming service that comes along that just blows all the others away, they'll automatically add your track to that. Leave a Legacy is an interesting one. Basically, if you die, they won't take your song down. I don't think I'm going to do that. Okay, click all of these, and I think that's it. So yeah, that's it. They give you this little page, which I think looks like this. And basically, it's a page you can send to your followers or fans or whatever, and they can listen to the track ahead of time. It also, I think it somehow interacts with Spotify. So if they click on the Spotify link, it'll automatically be added to their Spotify library. I tend not to use these pages, but it seems like a pretty cool thing. Okay, so that's the first step. We've now distributed to DistroKid. Okay, my next step is to make an ISRC from my track. This is a really optional step. A long time ago when I set up my label, West Cortez, I also had to register with this organization called US ISRC. This is their website. It's really hideous. Basically, for $80, you get the privilege, the right to make your own ISRC codes. These are basically like numbers that identify every song that you release. Basically, for the amount that you pay, it was $80 when I did it. I don't know how much it costs now. But you get the first half of the number. In my case, it's this code, QMZYA. And then there's another code, which is the 20, which is the year 2020. And then this is just a number that you make up. Most people do it sequential. So for example, for this song, I've already added reverse projection to this list here. I would do QMZYA 20003. And that's my ISRC number for this song. I'm actually gonna write it down here. Take some notes. Okay, so now we've gone through the first 3 steps. We've made an ISRC for a song. Okay, so while we're looking at text files, remember how I said that we'd talk a little bit more about how I name songs? Basically, the way I come up with titles is I'm very aware of language as I go through life, as most people are. And anytime something sounds like it might be a good song title, I write it down in this file called song titles. And as you can see, I've categorized them into 2 categories, dark, uplifting, and 3, synthwave. Yeah, that's a special niche category. And I just kind of keep this file, and anytime I finish a track, I just kind of go in here and I either take one of these verbatim, or I recombine it a little bit. Okay, maybe spectral motion or depth projection or something like that. Yeah, that's where the titles come from. I really, really hate spending forever coming up with a title, especially when I'm actually coming up with good combinations of language all the time. Okay, so let's get back to our list. We are now on the tag, the MP3 stage of this script. That's pretty self-explanatory. Basically, I take the MP3 and I open it up in iTunes, which is now called Apple Music or Music, and pause this so that it doesn't start playing, and I do get info, and I simply clean up the metadata a little bit. Pretty straightforward stuff. Okay, the only important thing that's worth noting about this is you can embed artwork in MP3s, and you definitely should. Okay, we've added our artwork, and we can see now that our MP3 has artwork associated with it. Okay, next step, add it to my Dropbox sharing directory. Okay, so I have a folder in my Dropbox called Music to Share, and this is going to go in the film music. And basically any track that I complete goes in here. And these are links that I share with directors, people who are buying licenses for the track for documentaries or commercials. Yeah, that's what this directory is for. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to open up the live session for this particular track. And I'm going to export out stems and collect any samples that I think are likely to go missing. One of the nightmares about making music using a computer at all is that sessions don't open back up. So if somebody comes along and they say, hey, I really love this track, can you make a version without any percussion so that I can use it in this commercial? If you can't open up your session, you're pretty much screwed. The solution to that is to export out audio data, stems essentially, for all the tracks. Because if it turns out that for some reason I can't load one of these VSTs at some point, I'll be really, really happy to have the audio version of it. Okay, so we're in our Ableton track, and what I'm going to do is first I'm going to do collect all and save. And what this does is it forces Ableton to pull in any Ableton samples that you're using that are from like the user library, or just random samples that maybe you pulled off some obscure part of your hard drive. It pulls them all into your local directory. It doesn't obviously pull in contact instruments or something like that, because Ableton doesn't really know anything about contact specifically. Okay, next thing we're going to do, we're going to export audio, and I'm going to do all individual tracks, and that's it. And basically it's just going to run through the entire thing and make a file for every single one of these tracks. Okay, back to our list. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to upload the track to SoundCloud, and make sure we select the right one of these. I should probably delete some of the old versions because it's not like I'm going to be going back to them. And now we're going to go to metadata, and I'm going to go back to that ISRC number I had created before, and I'm going to paste that in here. I'm going to make sure my name is in the composer, and okay, I'm going to hit this as save. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add this track to one of the many playlists that I have going. Okay, looks pretty good. I think we added it to 5 or 6 playlists there. Let's go back to our list. Okay. And as you can see here, I've written, if the track is cheesy, skip the following steps. I write a lot of music, stuff I'm proud of and I feel like really represents the vision I want people to associate with me. Those are the things that I upload to DistroKid and also to Bandcamp. That's very different than music that I might write that might be featured in a commercial and that I might think is very pretty and nice on its own, but maybe not as representative of my vision. In cases like this, where you have a track that I'm actually proud of, I will upload it to Bandcamp. And I always just upload it as an individual track. I'm going to speed through this. And that is it, published. As you can see, it's been years and I still haven't finished setting up my artist profile here. I haven't uploaded a photo. Okay, and yeah. Everything else on the list is pretty self-explanatory. Share it on various different socials. The only other thing that I'll say is if you're releasing music through DistroKid, make sure that you also sign up for a Spotify for Artists account. Basically, it's just a free website where you can log in and get stats on how your tracks are doing. One other thing that you can do, though, is if you've set a release date in the future, like not like what I just did, but if you said, okay, I want this to come out on July 1st or something like that, your track will show up before the release, and you can log into the site and request that your track be considered for playlists. And playlists, which are curated by the Spotify team, are hugely important in getting people to listen to music on Spotify. I've had it happen once successfully, and it boosted the number of plays by like a factor of 10, so definitely worth thinking about. Okay, I think that's it. That's pretty much how I release tracks in 2020. As I said up top, this video is sponsored by DistroKid. I'm going to put like a promo link in the description. If you do decide to check out DistroKid, which I highly recommend, they're a great distributor, if you could use the link, that would be really helpful. Yeah, promo links like that really help support the channel. Okay, I think that's it. I hope this was helpful. I would be interested in hearing in the comments how you all are releasing your tracks. What tips do you have? Where do you share stuff? What does a release even mean to you? I think it's an interesting question, especially in the film and media composing world, where there's not necessarily a primary reason for listing tracks on streaming services. That being said, I recommend it. You know, when people Google my name, those are the tracks that come up. So it really is like a portfolio for me, one that's hopefully always changing a little bit. Okay, I think that's it. See you next time.